He is Indiana Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl, and he joins us in the studio this morning at 8:44. Chief Schawl, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. You know, we talk with you on a number of different angles and perspectives. I want to talk to you about something that's coming up this weekend, the Northern Appalachian Folk Festival in downtown Indiana. Obviously, anytime you have that Oktoberfest coming up, then the police are going to be there to ensure everybody is safe and things are going well. And that will be the case this weekend. But it's important community relations, number one, but it's important from the safety aspect too, isn't it?
That's right. I mean, first and foremost, the public safety aspect of every special event that happens in Indiana Borough. I tell you, it's such a coordinated effort that's required to have a safe event anywhere, really. But I do have an upfront view here in Indiana Borough. So public safety first and foremost of any special event. And then community relations is always important because as police officers, just specifically, we're the most visible representation of any town or community. And so the way that we engage with the public is always, generally speaking, the first impression that any visitor would have coming into our community. So it's really important that not only are we able to put a sound plan in place to keep everyone safe, officers and our community members, but also that we're acting in a way where people want to continue to visit Indiana Borough and they want to do so in a safe and responsible way. So it's extremely challenging. There's much time and effort that's put into planning for any special event. And, this Friday and Saturday is going to be a big event in Indiana. And then we're going to have IUP Homecoming, and then we're going to have Oktoberfest, and then special events generally culminate with the It's Wonderful Life Parade, which tends to be our largest event in Indiana, in downtown Indiana. So, there are really lots of good things coming up for folks to visit Indiana and for sound plans to be put in place, and then just for everyone to have a good time safely.
Well, that level of comfort that people must have when they attend an event, that they know that there's somebody there to protect them should something happen. Even somebody who trips and falls along the street, and police are there to render aid and make sure that emergency workers can get to there, whatever the incident might be. That's really important to have that confidence that you're going to be cared for.
Well, it is important, and I'm almost glad that it's not in the forefront of everyone's mind that our strategy is going to be in place for us to be safe. I think that everyone generally knows when they come to Indiana Borough and downtown Indiana that sound strategies are going to be in place by a team, not just the police, but fire and EMS, to protect against things that threaten our public safety. And so when I talk about coordinated effort, I mean, when we close off streets, we have to talk about how does the fire department get to and from places? Yeah. What's the best place for an ambulance to respond if there's a large crowd in the middle of the road? How do we evacuate an event if there's a weather emergency that crops up? And then just generally speaking, is there going to be alcohol at the event, or what challenges are going to be possessed by that? What threats are there to any specific event given in downtown Indiana? How do we best engage? How do we best position ourselves, a police department, to provide best service to the people who are going to be attending those events? So, we always want folks to watch out for their own personal safety. We always want everyone to make good, responsible decisions, but we're always there, and we're always immediately responsive to needs. Yeah. And I've said so many times through the environment that we're currently navigating with COVID that we have to be flexible. And so the Indiana Borough Police Department continues to be flexible to navigate through moments that might be otherwise hard to predict or less than stable. And we're perfectly qualified to do that. Indiana Borough has a wonderful police department. Our partners at the State Police, IUP Police, Sheriff's Department, excellent partners. So residents of Indiana and Indiana Borough, I believe, should feel quite confident in their safety at all times, even though we do have challenges like everyone else. Yeah.
So we'll move into the month of October, the Oktoberfest event. You mentioned events at which alcohol is a part of it, and that's one. IUP Homecoming can always be a challenge. And so that coordination that you talk about, especially in terms of IUP Homecoming, when people come in, not only who are IUP alum, but others will come in from out of town. And in the past, there have been some difficulties. In the past few years, it's been much better. And last year, there was hardly anybody in town. So with students back, I'm sure that those efforts, those plans are going on right now, even as we speak.
Most definitely. And they have been, really. They've started much earlier than this conversation, even though we're about a month out from those occasions. But visitors sometimes visitors don't carry the same sense of community pride as those of us who live here. So when we bring an influx of visitors to our community, sometimes things can get a bit, I'll say, wayward or out of hand, and so it's difficult. We have to plan, we have to message properly, we have to have the right relationships in place before these events take place, so that we stand a good chance of gaining cooperation and support from everyone that we need cooperation and support from. And then it's just a matter of enforcing the laws that we have in place to make sure that everybody's safe. Large gatherings are less safe than small gatherings, and that's, from a public safety standpoint, it's always been the case. Things that attract people, and so we have to be prepared in crowd situations for anything that might be attractive to someone interested in a nefarious purpose. It's not all great, but we are here and we're committed to making it as best we can.
How have things gone since the start of September in terms of crowds and events?
So I'll speak very generally because I don't have hard and fast statistics, but Indiana Borough has been busy. Philadelphia Street's been busy. Traffic has been increased. Our schools are back in session. So in the mornings, I can say this more so as a parent than a professional, that getting kids to and from Indiana junior high, senior high, it takes time and it takes patience because traffic's backed up in the morning. And but we've avoided the any significantly negative event as far as traffic. We've kept crashes to a minimum throughout town, which is great, and we really want the traffic. I'm not saying that traffic's up in a negative way, because traffic means people are here, and people are moving around, and that's exactly what we want. But certainly, as you see out your window every day, and I heard on this morning, 9th and Philadelphia Street creates its own traffic safety challenge. This is an intersection unique to probably the state of Pennsylvania, let alone Indiana Borough, but it's difficult to navigate. So go slow, lots of patience. As far as calls for service, we're active. We're I don't want to say that we're more active than in past years, but certainly the past 2 years, we're more active in things that are more traditional. And what I mean by that is that where the past year or two we may have been busy on our overnight shifts dealing with business security checks and foot patrols, we're busy now with intoxicated people or with an assault call or with noise complaints. And so I'm not suggesting that our call volume specifically is up, but I will tell you that the time it is taking us to navigate the calls that we are receiving is far more today than it has been in the past year or two. And it's amazing how quickly you can forget how busy life can be, how quickly an 8 or a 12-hour shift can go by when, from the time you get in until the time you leave, you're dealing with everything that you have to deal with and not specifically anything you really want to deal with. So it becomes a matter of obligated time versus unobligated time, and where's the best impact. And so these are good challenges. They're challenges that minus our COVID environment, these are the challenges that we were dealing with. And so perhaps a bit more complex these days, but nonetheless, we're managing.
You mentioned traffic, and it really, I think Indiana County drivers and Indiana Borough drivers in particular know that those white lines, those bars that go across at intersections that tell you how far back to stay at an intersection, most of us are pretty well cued in, don't go past that, because a big truck coming around the corner needs that extra space. And it's extremely important, because you could get a real tie-up or you could have an accident.
Well, it's important for sure. You have to stop behind the stop lines. Indiana Borough, for everything that it is, it doesn't have a lot of open road space. So we have some tight corners to navigate, and but for pedestrian safety too, we want to make sure that our cars are slowing and stopping before the stop line. Certainly at all intersections that have a crosswalk, before the first crosswalk line, even if the stop sign sits on the other side of the crosswalk. Cars have to be stopping to allow for our pedestrians to get across the street safely. And for the most part, and in all years, we do that fairly well here in Indiana Borough, but it's a constant effort. So our community members will see police cars sitting at crosswalks and intersections in the downtown area, and also monitoring stop signs and red lights in areas where perhaps there's not as much attention or not as much traffic, because it's important to stop every time. You never know when a student, a young person, a community member is trying to cross a street. It creates a real danger, and those are the things that we want to avoid.
Yeah. I want to give you a chance in our closing moments together this morning to comment on this. The anniversary of 911 is coming up, and I know for you and your fellow police officers, it's a very, very meaningful time as you think back to September 11th of 2001, and as they always say, the number that ran toward the incident as opposed to the number that were running away from them. The police officers, the firefighters, the emergency workers, they were all running toward the emergency. Yeah. Many of them gave their lives that day in New York City. But from a police officer standpoint, anytime there is danger, police officers are expected to be there and to step into that situation. I know it's extremely meaningful to you.
It is meaningful, and it's meaningful to everyone. And, I would say that on September 11th of 2001, we saw acts that were the worst, and we saw human beings at their best. And emergency responders, first responders, police, fire, EMS, this is what we do. We run toward tragedy. We run toward danger. And, September 11th was an example of this on such a grand scale where so many heroes, men, women, gave their lives trying to and in protection of others. And it's incredibly humbling to be part of a profession where I know at any point in time that anyone here locally or afar would come to the aid or rescue of anyone in need. And it's also speaks to the dangers that we still face and the uncertainty that we face every day. And so I'm honored to be a first responder. I am extremely proud and forever grateful for all those who ran towards and continue to run towards violent situations. And I'm completely committed to our future safety and successes. And so as we think back on 9/11, and I know that this probably isn't as eloquently said as I could say it, but in remembering what it felt like that day, in remembering the loss of life, and remembering the feeling of uncertainty that loomed large, and just the shock of the situation is something that will impact me for the rest of my life. And as we remember the 20th anniversary of 9/11, it's an opportunity to talk to our children who weren't there about what it meant to be a firefighter, a police officer, a medic in New York City during that day, all of the countless thousands of people that rushed to New York after that, our military men and women who came to our collective aid and rescue during that period of time, the valiant efforts of everybody. I mean, it's incredible. And so on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, those are the things that are going to be running through my mind and, humble me every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that same sort of spirit in the eyes of your cohorts there with the Indiana Borough Police Department.
Yes.
He is Indiana Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl joining us here this morning. Enjoy this beautiful day today.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160 and AM 1160. And